taking a serious pounding. The sleet changed back to snow, and within moments the gunwales on the starboard bow were gathering small white drifts. But they were only fleeting because the great sea kept hurling tons of frigid water onto the foredeck. In the split second it took for the ocean spray to fly against the forward bulkhead, it turned to ice, and Tug Mottram, peering through the window, could see the tiny bright particles ricochet off the portside winch. He guessed the still air temperature on deck had dropped to about -5°C. With the wind chill of a force 10 storm, the real temperature out there was probably 15 below zero. Again, Cuttyhunk pitched slowly forward into the receding slope of a swell, and Tug could see Kit Barons in the doorway to the communications room stating their precise position. Right now, 48 south, 67 east, heading southeast, just about 100 miles northwest Kerguelen Island. He watched his 23-year-old navigator, sensed his uneasiness, and muttered to no one in particular, "This thing is built for a head, see? If we have a problem, it's right back there over the stern." Then, louder and clearer now, "Watch those new swells coming in from the beam, Bob. I'd hate to have one of them slew us around." "Aye, sir," replied Bob Lander, who was, like Tug himself, a former U.S. Navy lieutenant commander. The main difference between them was that the captain had been coaxed out of the Navy at the age of 38 to become the senior commanding officer at the Great Oceanographic Institute in Woods Hole, whereas Bob, 10 years older, had merely run out his time in dark blue, retiring as a lieutenant commander and was now second in command of Cuttyhunk. They were both big, powerful men, natives of Cape Cod, lifelong seamen, lifelong friends. Cuttyhunk, named after the most westerly of the Elizabeth Islands, was in safe hands, despite the terrifying claws of the gale which was currently howling out of the Antarctic. "Kind of breezy out there now," said Lander. "You want me to nip down and offer a few encouraging words to the Boffins?" "Good call," said Mottram. "Tell 'em we're fine. Cuttyhunk's made for this weather. Don't, for Christ's sake, tell them we could roll over any minute if we don't watch ourselves. This goddamn cross sea is the worst I've seen in quite a while. There ain't a good course we can heave to on. Tell them I expect to be behind the islands before long." Down below, the scientists had ceased work. The slightly built, bespectacled Professor Henry Townsend and his team were sitting together in the spacious guest lounge, which had been deliberately constructed in the middle of the ship to minimize the rise and fall effect of a big sea. His senior oceanographer, Roger Deakins, was already feeling a bit queasy, which was hardly surprising for a man more accustomed to operating in a deep-diving research submarine. But the sudden change in weather had taken them all by surprise, and now Kate Goodwin, a tall, thoughtful blonde scientist with a doctorate from the joint MIT Woods Hole Oceanography program, was belatedly dispensing seasick tablets for those in need. "I'll take a half-pound of 'em," said Deakins. "You only need one," said Kate, laughing. "You don't know how I feel," he replied. "No, thank God," she said wryly. But their banter was interrupted by an icy blast through the aft door and the dramatic appearance of a snowman wearing Bob Lander's cheerful face. "Nothing to worry about, guys," he said, shaking snow all over the carpet. "Just one of those sudden storms you get down here, but we should find shelter tonight. Best stay below right now till the motion eases. And don't worry about the banging and thumping you can hear up front. That's just because we're in a very uneven sea, waves hitting us from different directions. Just remember, this thing's an icebreaker. She'll bust her way through anything." "Thanks, Bob," said Kate. "Want some coffee?" "Christ, that's a good idea," he said. "Black, with sugar if it's no trouble. Can I take one up to the captain same way?" "Yes, sir," she said. "Why don't I give you a pot of it? I'll clip it down, save you throwing it all over the deck." Bob Lander chatted to Professor Townsend for a few minutes while he waited, but his mind was not locked into the words of the acknowledged American expert on the unstable southern ozone layer. It was preoccupied with the thumps against the bow, the dull, shuddering thud of big waves, which have a kind of rhythm, even in a grim Antarctic storm such as this. Right now, there were too many of them, and a couple of times Bob sensed a more hollow clang, although the sound was muffled in this part of the ship. It was, however, the